Are you looking to play your Game Week 13 wildcard this week? Or have you already played it? Or are you looking to play it in an upcoming game week? No matter which category you fall under, this video will be useful for you, as I will showcase a Game Week 13 wildcard draft and show you where the FPL template might be moving towards. I'm Ryan from Football Chatbox. Let's get into the video. All right, now what I've got on my screen right now is a Game Week 13 wildcard draft for the moment, but I'm going to walk you through all the moves that I've suggested here and also look through a couple game weeks as well. And also for those of you who have played your wildcard draft or you're looking to play it in another game week, this will also be a good idea to see where those who are playing their Game Week 13 wildcard draft, like what players they are looking to get, and then you can kind of compare it with your current team and see how far you are off what could potentially be the future template for the next couple of weeks as at least. But before we get into that, for those of you who are playing your Game Week 13 wildcard draft, there's one main thing that you kind of need to keep an eye out for, and that is compared to what those who played the wildcard in Game Week 8 or 10, or even those who haven't played it yet. The one thing that you as a Game Week 13 wildcarder need to keep or have in mind is Game Week 14, 15, and 16. And that is mainly due to the fact that Game Week 15 will be a midweek fixture. Now, if you go to the fixtures in total, as you can see, where in Game Week 13, but 14 is on the 3rd of December, 15 is 3 days after that on the 6th of December, and then 16 3 days after again on the 9th of December, which means there's going to be a lot of fixtures with tight schedules. And we know a few teams that are very well known for rotation. Brighton, potentially even Liverpool, because they have a very, if you look into it a bit more further, they've got like a Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday type kickoff schedule, which is not good for them as well. They also tend to rotate. So those are a few things that you kind of need to keep in mind with regards to rotation and being able to navigate those 3 game weeks as a Game Week 13 wildcarder, right? So that is something that you probably want to keep in mind when building your Game Week 13 wildcard draft. So the players that you would want to target would ideally be players who are potentially 90-minute men. And you'll see me say this in a couple videos this week as well. Try and get as many or as close to as many 90-minute players as much as possible. There are a few players in here that you could have as a punts, and I've got some Liverpool players in here that are potentially not 90-minute men, and I'll explain a few other options that you could go for. And also I've kept 0.8 in the bank. You might have more team value, you might have less team value. It depends on how your current squad team structure is in terms of team value. And I'll also give a few other alternative options to some of the players here, like maybe a Trippier, who you potentially don't need for this upcoming run. You could probably look to find someone else cheaper. You could probably go for someone else instead of a Darwin Núñez if you had more money or slightly less money. Depends on how you want to handle it. So I'll give you a couple other scenarios as well. And I've got Bowen in here as well, who's currently flagged, same as Haaland, but we're assuming at the time of recording that they might be okay ahead of the Game Week 13 fixtures. Having said all of that, let's get started. Now, in goal, majority of the template, including my personal team, which I've already played my wildcard, would have something like an Areola and a Turner combination, most likely, or even a Areola and a 3.9 in maybe Strakoshka. Not many people have a better goalkeeping option. And now looking back at it, I will tell you right now, I wish I had someone better than Areola in terms of goal. He isn't really keeping clean sheets. Maybe this upcoming Burnley, Crystal Palace, Fulham is where you might see 1 or 2 clean sheets, hopefully. But if I was to play my wildcard now, I would probably switch that up and try and get, now that we know Turner has lost his place, try and get in maybe a Leno. It's between for me between Leno or Sanchez is what I was initially thinking. I was initially thinking Sanchez as well. And you kind of bench Sanchez for these next three, and then after that he has a brilliant run of a few fixtures which you could play him for. But I've gone for Leno, and I'll show you why in terms of the fixtures as well. If we were to select Fulham, where is West Ham? West Ham, Crystal Palace as well with regards to Johnston. And let's get Chelsea as well with regards to Sanchez in there. Any other keepers? I guess we'll add Everton in terms of Pickford, but I don't really want to. We'll see. Anyways, so let's say you have Areola as one of your keepers, right? You kind of want to rotate. Fulham do have a decent rotation option. When West Ham play Spurs, Fulham have Forest. When Fulham have Newcastle, West Ham have Wolves. When West Ham have United and Arsenal, Fulham have Burnley, Bournemouth. Game week 20 might be a problem, but then the next after that you have your next problem is potentially game week 26. So as you can see, they do tend to rotate pretty decently well. That goes all the way towards the end as well. So they have a decent rotation, and Leno is pretty good for bonus points as well. That's something that we need to keep in mind of. Everton, on the other hand, I do realize that you guys might not be able to see all of this properly. There we go. So, still pretty small, no, for you guys. We'll have to probably make it smaller. Let's make it smaller until game week 25. There we go. That's better. All right. Now, again, like I said, you can see the difference in the alternative game weeks in tough game weeks. Everton, when West Ham have a tough game week, Everton also have Newcastle to face. That's not that great. And the same goes for game week 18 and 19 as well, when both teams have tough. So they don't really alternate that well. Same thing in 23, 24. Everton don't really alternate well with West Ham. So that's why I probably haven't added Pickford in here. So we'll remove Everton. Crystal Palace, they actually do a decent rotation if you wanted to get a Johnston in. They've got, the only reason I haven't added them in because of this game week 16 to 21 stretch where you see some tough fixtures, and you, in terms of trying to find a rotation with Areola, it's not as easy because of that stretch of tough fixtures. So they're not as much of an option, which is why it was either Leno or Sanchez for me. And the reason I say Sanchez because you can drop for the first three. Yeah, between game week 15, you're going to have a slight tough situation. But then after that, you can start him for a really good run. Then when they play Liverpool, when Chelsea play Liverpool, West Ham have Bournemouth. And 22, 20, 23, 24, as you can see, it rotates again. And then 25 also it rotates. So there is a decent rotation pairing between Sanchez and Areola. But I haven't picked Sanchez, and I'll explain why when we get in to the defensive and forward picks as well. But Fulham, for the moment, look like one of the teams that could have good rotations. And also, like I mentioned before, Leno good for bonus. Now, here's Wolves this week. You could either start him or Areola. It's up to you in terms of where you want to go. I don't mind starting Leno because he is at home, end of the day. So we got that in goal. Now, in defense, I've got Guehi because I still think Crystal Palace's next three, at least the Luton and Bournemouth games are not too bad from a defensive point of view. I've got Gabriel, him and Saliba. Now, this is mainly a price point of view. If you already have Saliba, you can potentially keep him. Depends on how your price and your budget is for the rest. Saliba has now gotten to the point of very expensive for a defender with not too much attacking returns. I know he scored a goal, but the attacking returns isn't as high. So I've gone with Gabriel. I still think Gabriel and Saliba are the first choice defenders in that centre-back pairing for Arsenal. You could potentially go double Arsenal defense and go Saliba and Gabriel as well, and that's not a problem at all. And that's where the thing with Trippier, where you go, Trippier is potentially a bit more expensive. Where if you don't have Trippier by now, I feel like he's got to a point where how much is he right now? 7, right? Still pretty expensive that you could probably not want to get him. But he's still one of the best centre-backs in terms of bonus points, attacking returns. He's still one of the best centre-backs that are there. And given that we don't have that many options for the moment that are as good, he's still someone that if you have him, I would still keep him. But if you want to move him, like I mentioned, the double Arsenal defense in Saliba and Gabriel is not a bad shout. Just to go back on the goalkeeper, I haven't added Rhea because I do believe he won't be featuring in the upcoming game week against Brentford. And also because I feel like you can use the Gabriel and Saliba as a good pairing with a bit more attacking upside as well, potentially from those two. So that's my back three. I've also got Lascelles and Simicas in here. Now, Lascelles I've had for some time, since 3.9, so because of that, I've kept him. The reason I've kept Lascelles for the moment is because of budget. I don't know where your budget stands for a lot of people. If you have more budget, if you're 0.8 here, I would probably look to use the Lascelles and switch him out to another defender of your choice. You could potentially go for a double Newcastle if you had more budget to go to a Shah. You could also go to an Aston Villa defender if you really wanted to, because game week 18 they do play Sheffield United. If you wanted a 4.5, you could go for a Maguire as well, although the upcoming fixtures aren't as great if we were to look at United after Everton. They've got Newcastle and Chelsea, so you kind of need to rotate in that situation. You could go for a Chelsea defender now itself, but the reason I haven't gone for is because the next three are tough, and I kind of want to wait and see how Reece James develops. Yes, Reece James. That sounds crazy as it seems, but yeah, we kind of need to wait and see. Also, with regards to Botman, I'm not really sure what the injury status with him is. We're getting news that he's maybe available, he's maybe not available. Because of all of the confusing signs, I have Lascelles for the moment, and also because of budget and not many other good options. Shaw has returned, apparently could feature in the Everton game. So Shaw might not be a bad option as well. How much is he right now? 5.2. Still a bit pricey. So it depends if you have the budget. I won't be able to from Lascelles to Shaw. That's not possible. But if you wanted a 4.5, there aren't that many options, sadly, to tell you the truth, that you can go for. Spurs might have a good one from like game week 15 onwards. But again, like I said, you could go for Mikalenko if you wanted Everton to kind of rotate. He's not too bad from an attacking point of view, but there aren't that many options, to be honest, that are available. So I've gone for Crystal Palace, Arsenal defender. You could go again. That's why you go double Arsenal defense could be an option as a choice. Simicas I've got in there because of the not the I'll be benching him for the City fixture. I did bench him for the Brentford one, but for the next three. Now this is where we go to the 90-minute men. I can see Simicas getting benched for one of these fixtures, most likely the Sheffield United fixture. So expect a bench in potentially. It might not happen. He might play all three, but expect a bench in at least one game, potentially the Sheffield United fixture, and probably he starts the Fulham and Crystal Palace fixtures. So keep that in mind when you're picking Simicas, and I'm well aware of it. But this is where you, out of your 15-man squad, you can potentially have one or two players who are a slight minutes risk, and you maybe need to decide whether you're willing to take that minutes risk or not when with these players. So keep that in mind as well when building your Game Week 13 wildcard squad. Lascelles, I would probably look to maybe switch him to someone else if I could. If I had the budget to go to Dalot, I would have loved to have gone there. But with Shaw returning, we'll have to see whether Dalot will play or whether Wan-Bissaka will be playing on the right back spot. That's something to keep in mind, which is why I feel like Maguire might be just a bit safer in terms of minutes with regards to that, and also an affordable price point that you're not going to start every single week, right? So that's up to you in terms of who you want to pick for that fifth choice defensive spot. Now, midfield. We've got Saka, Bowen, Mbeumo, Palmer, and Salah. I feel like Salah at this point there's no point actually explaining it. Just pick him. He's one of the best players in the game right now. I've gone for Bowen, even though there is a slight injury situation. I think he is still a really good option. Probably one of the favorites for captaincy this week as well, if he's fit. And obviously, West Ham have a good run until game week 17. Obviously, in game week 18, they're playing United, but by then you can decide what you want to do. But until game week 17, Bowen is still a really good option. I've gone for Mbeumo because a lot of people will be wanting Mbeumo from game week 14 onwards. If you're wildcarding now, you might as well go and get him now itself. He will be a pretty good option come game week 14 for a lot of people. There is the Game Week 18 blank, and I'll show you how we navigate that while having Mbeumo and Haaland both in the teams. I'll show you how you can navigate it. And then I've gone for Palmer. Now, 3 tough fixtures for Chelsea, right? But the man takes penalties. And when it comes to penalties, we've already seen in the last few fixtures that he played. Doesn't matter if it was tough fixtures or not. In a tough fixture, you get a penalty, get points, right? So he is still key to how Chelsea play. He's involved in a lot of stuff. So I still don't mind him as a starting player as well at 5.2 in that midfield 5. And then I've got Saka. Now, I will be honest and open and say Saka has been very underwhelming in terms of an FPL option in the last couple of weeks. Now, with Gabriel Jesus potentially back, will that change how Arsenal play? Don't know. Can't tell you, to be honest. Their numbers have been poor. Will it improve? We have to wait and see. But I think I would take the risk still with Saka, just because they have the Wolves and Luton fixture and Aston Villa fixture as well, which is good from an attacking point of view. Same with Brighton, good from an attacking point of view. I feel like I'll take that risk with Saka just to have a piece of the pie with regards to Arsenal attacking options. I had Martinelli bit underwhelming as well with Trossard playing. He loses a bit of set pieces. Saka, on the other hand, we still know he has penalties in his locker, especially with Odegaard not there to share the penalties. Saka is still most likely the main penalty taker. So that's my midfield 5. What could change from this midfield 5? Honestly, if Bowen is out not for this week and not available this week, I wouldn't mind having a Diaby if you wanted to. Still against Spurs, that's not a bad shout. If you have the money to go to Son, you could, but I don't know. In my case, I can't really go to Son. I still don't mind him, but I think I might sell him at this point. If you have Mitoma, there is a bit of an injury concern on Mitoma, so probably wait and see with regards to that. I have Gordon myself personally. You could probably keep Gordon if you have him, but there aren't that many options, to be honest. Which is why I'm like, probably might get Bowen and see if he's good or not. If he's not fit, take a punt on a 5th midfielder. You could probably go for Kudus as well if you wanted to. If Bowen is not fit, right? You could go for Kudus, not a bad option. Will play that number 10 potentially. So he could be another good option that you would want to pick. Now, forward line. I've got Haaland, right? Got Osula in there. You could probably have Archer. The reason I've picked Osula is just for budget reasons. I think if you had more budget and you still had 0.5 in the bank left, I would probably go for Archer because he's starting. But at the time when I built my wildcard, I didn't have budget, so Osula was the player that I went for. The other thing here is I've got Darwin. Now this kind of goes back to the whole 90-minute min. Darwin, just like Simikas, potentially going to miss one of these games where he doesn't start. So you better be ready for that and accept it, that he might miss one of these minutes. But if you're willing to accept the fact that, Darwin will potentially not start one, but he'll come off the bench and I'm still ready for the chaos and I'm still willing to accept the chaos that comes with Darwin Núñez. And I still think that the upside is there with him playing, let's say, 80 minutes, 30 minutes in another game, and maybe 60 or 70 minutes in another game. And I still think there's upside in there. If you're willing to take that on, then I would go with Darwin Núñez. If not, there aren't that many options, to be honest, that are good enough. I will accept right now because Wilson, if I was to sort this by players who could return this week, Alvarez, there's the blank coming with Mbeumo and Haaland already. I don't want to add another game week 18 blank player. You could go for Watkins. If you still have Watkins, keep him. This is why I had Osula because I was stuck on budget. If you have Watkins, you can keep him. I don't mind it, but I think I don't mind the Darwin Núñez pick as well. But Watkins will be the best captaincy option come game week 18. Or one of the best captaincy options come game week 18. You could go for Forest in terms of Awayoni. Not a bad player to go for. After that, there aren't that many in terms of good options. Maybe Gabriel Jesus is fit. And Arteta comes and says Gabriel Jesus is fit. So he could be another option that you would want to go for. But for now, I've added Darwin Núñez in there. And it's up to you in terms of how you want to actually play this out. Where is Darwin? So it depends on how you want to go for that second striker spot. I've gone for 3-5-2 because I think that's the most flexible in terms of formations, with a lot of us wanting midfielders more than we want forwards or defenders. So I've gone for Darwin in there. So it depends on how you actually want to move this. You could probably go downgrade Trippier to another Newcastle defender like a Shah and use the rest of the money if you wanted to go to a Watkins, or even have a better secondary striker just in case. I mean, third striker just in case. But this is basically the wildcard that I've gone with. Let me know in the comments what you think. And let's go into game week 14. I won't make much differences apart from rotating Leno and Areola, benching him. Guehi also gets benched. Tsimikas comes on. And we roll the transfer. Game week 15, we go. We have 2 free transfers. I've done one change in terms of Guehi because obviously he has got Bournemouth, which is a good fixture, but Trippier, Tsimikas, and Gabriel also have good fixtures here. But this is where you have to kind of decide how you want to play this. If you think Tsimikas is not going to start the Sheffield United fixture, I will start Guehi. Right? I would start Guehi if you think Tsimikas is not going to start the Sheffield United fixture. And depending on who you went here, if you think Lascelles, if you went with Lascelles and you still think he's got his spot in Newcastle, fine. If you think you can go for someone else that you can find at that specific moment, I don't mind it. Especially if you can get someone for game week 18. That's also not too bad. We'll have to wait and see. If Reece James is injured by this time, you could probably go for a Chelsea defender, someone else. Potentially Thiago Silva if he had the money. I can't do it from Lascelles, but I could probably go somewhere else. Colville if he's fit, but I don't know. I think Thiago Silva or Reece James are very tempting, to be honest, given the upside they have compared to the others. So it depends on where you want to go, who appears as well as an option. In 2 weeks, things can change. We need to monitor minutes and see how things go. So it's up to you in terms of the one. I'll do one transfer and I'll roll the second. That's probably what I would do. So let's take, for example, that I say Tsimikas is potentially okay. Let's say Tsimikas is fine. This is where I went and got Reece James. Now, it's a very this is why I didn't go for Sanchez, right? Because as you can see, I already got Palmer and James. This is why I didn't go for Sanchez, because I would want a Chelsea defender. Doesn't have to be Reece James. Let's just say Thiago Silva just as well, just in case, right? But we'll put James because he's a more expensive defender. Come game week 16, I've switched my formation a bit. And I've done 2 free transfers that have one with Saka out for a Douglas Lewis. It could be someone else. Depends on how you want to go it. Mainly because of targeting that game week 18 fixture. And also, it's very speculative right now. But I wanted to see if Nkunku would be back before we get to game week 16. And if he's back before game week 16, and if he's playing well, it's a very tempting run to have Nkunku for. That's the one reason, but it's kind of you had to wait and see. This is why I didn't go for Sanchez, because I thought I might want 3 Chelsea players in the rest of the 11. That wasn't a goalkeeper. And Nkunku is someone who could be a very spicy pick and someone who could change the template. So for those of you who have played your wildcard and you're looking for how the template could move, I think this might be something to consider. So keep that in mind while you're making your decisions. If you still want to stick to a 3-5-2, Darwin could make way for Nkunku as well. That's a possibility which could give you a better 5th midfielder, right? I could have done that as well. If you think like Darwin is not as a good option, you could have Archer in here. Let me bring in Nkunku actually. Where is Nkunku? And let's bring in Archer. That will give you enough money in the bank to even go from Douglas Lewis to like a Diaby and keep your Saka if you wanted to, right? Those are a few things that you can do as well. If you went for a 3-5-2 and instead of Archer, I had Osila here, but obviously if you had Archer, you'll be only doing one free transfer. Keep that in mind. That's how you want to see how things navigate. But again, come game week 17, you would potentially have, if you had one transfer that you did, you probably have to use your transfer elsewhere. See how the template by then would have switched. But you should be fine come game week 18, where you can bench both Haaland and Mbeumo, because you hopefully, if Lascelles is still fit, you can play him, or you can play Tsimikas if you think Lascelles has lost his spot. This is where pick your fifth defender wisely, because they might be needed come game week 18, because you'll probably play a 4-4-2 formation. You might even play a 4-5-1 formation where you do a hokey cokey with Mbeumo, where you transfer him out, bring in, let's say, someone like a Diaby for that one game week against Sheffield United, and play like a 4-5-1 formation as well. So have a good fifth choice defender that you pick that might play. And then the other spot you can do a hokey cokey in game week 18. But you should be able to manage with starting with Mbeumo and Haaland in the same team in game week 13. So yeah, that's basically my wildcard draft. Let me know in the comments what you thought about all of that. And does it help you? Does this video help you as a player who's played the wildcard already, or who's looking to play the wildcard, whether it's this week or the upcoming weeks? Let me know if this helped you. Let me know in the comments, and make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button as well. We're trying to get to 600 subscribers, so make sure to hit the like button, subscribe while you're here. My name is Ryan from the Football Chatbox, and we'll be having a live stream on Tuesday at 9 p.m. or probably 10 p.m. Sydney time. So wherever you are in the world, that's 11 a.m. UK GMT. So keep that in mind. That's on Tuesday. A team selection video will be live for that. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all later.